Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Teacher, and today we're reading The Children of the Bounty. So, previously, we read about the Bounty ship where there was a mutiny that had happened. So, let's find out what happened um, after the Bounty. Many people dream of living on a remote tropical island where there are no cars and little crime. For the people of Pitcairn Island, this dream is their reality. Until 1789, Pitcairn was uninhabited. In that year, Fletcher Christian arrived at and settled on this tiny island in the South Pacific. With him were 8 other mutineers from the Bounty and 18 Tahitians. By the late 1800s, the island's population had grown to over 200. Today, the number has dwindled to fewer than 50. However, the island's governing council is not greatly concerned about the declining population. It receives thousands of queries from people all over the world who would like to live there. Nevertheless, it rarely issues the official entry document called License to Land and Reside. Pitcairners have no wish to be swamped by an influx of new residents. So, ever since Fletcher Christian arrived and settled on this island, um, the population has grown, right? It grew a lot to about 200 for a small island. That can be a lot, but it has dwindled to about less than 50. So, there are very few people who live there. And even still, the government does not want to allow many people to live there. Maybe they like their quiet and relaxed way of life on the island. Life on Pitcairn is easygoing. The inhabitants enjoy balmy weather all year round, and the island has plenty of water. Sweet potatoes, melons, bananas, and coffee are among the crops that grow in its fertile soil. The older inhabitants spend most of their time fishing, growing vegetables, and making wooden carvings and woven baskets. So, a very slow life here on Pitcairn. Um, it's a very nice weather, nice and warm all year round. There's lots of water, lots of food, and people just like to go fishing, farming, and carving wood, making woven baskets. Very slow life. Because life changes little from day to day, visits from ships passing by on their way to the Panama Canal to New Zealand are eagerly awaited. The island's steep cliffs and lack of harbors make it impossible for ships to come to land. They must anchor about a mile offshore. When the ship arrives, islanders congregate at the landing in Adamstown, the island's only town. There, they watch the launching of the 40-foot longboat that goes out to meet the ship, to replenish supplies, and to sell mementos. During rough weather, when the longboat is pitching wildly, those on board have a formidable task getting from the boat to the deck of the ship by rope ladder. Only the most agile attempt it. So there are cliffs around this island. So it's a big boat cannot stop there to bring things or to sell things. So they have this 40-foot long boat that has to go off the island and come back. But during rough weather, it can be really, really hard. A long boat like that is moved around a lot by the water. And they only have a rope ladder to go from their boat to the bigger boat. So it can be very difficult. The crews on these passing ships are eager to buy the carvings and baskets made by the islanders. Intricately carved replicas of the Bounty are popular items. They can sell for several $100s or more, depending on the skill of the carver. The ship's visits are sporadic. Weeks or even months go by without one. For this reason, the Pitcairners take advantage of these visits to trade fish, fruits, and vegetables for canned goods and staples, such as flour and sugar. They cannot provide for themselves, or that they cannot provide for themselves. Everything obtained from passing ships is allotted equally among the island's families. In this way, no one lacks the necessities. So, because there was the Bounty that originally landed on this island, carvings of this ship are very popular for those passing ships to buy. So, depending on how well the carver has done or the skill of the carver, they can go and be very expensive to buy. These visiting ships don't come by very often. So when they do, they trade whatever they can to get staples or the basic things they need for living, like flour and sugar, that they can't make themselves on the island. And then the government is very kind and they give everything equally to the families who live on the island. That way, no one is lacking what they need. This tropical paradise, however, is not for everyone. Young people often feel frustrated by the lack of opportunity. Many of them wish to exchange what they regard as the humdrum existence on the island for what they believe will be more exciting lives in the outside world. Not only do they find limitations in jobs unappealing, but they also complain that life on Pitcairn offers few diversions. Pitcairn Island once had very strict moral codes which prohibited displays of affection, such as holding hands in public and dancing, which was regarded as unseemly. While the rules aren't as strict these days, many young people leave the island, though some later return, unable to cope with the tumult of the modern world. So the young people get restless on this island, right? It's a very small island. There's not a lot to do. So many of them want to go and see what the outside world has to offer, right? They would be amazed to go and see a big city somewhere in the world and everything that's there. They probably couldn't believe it. So there are not a lot of jobs on Pitcairn, right? And there's not a lot of anything to do, right? There's just a few things to do for jobs and for fun. So they wish to leave the island. There used to be very strict moral codes, no holding hands in public, no dancing. Now those things are not as strict. They maybe don't have those rules anymore, but still, young people want to experience more, so they leave the island. But sometimes the outside world is too much. It's very hard to make money. It's hard to live. It can be dangerous in some places. So sometimes they will come back to the island. Pitcairn, a volcanic speck of rocks, less than 2 square miles in area and inhabited by only 9 families, has a fascination for the outside world out of all proportion to its size. It has been the subject of no fewer than 2,500 books and articles. One reason, of course, is obvious: its dramatic past, a past that began on an April morning in 1789 when Captain Bligh was rudely awakened to discover that Fletcher Christian, abetted by mutinous crew members, had seized control of the Bounty. So, because of its dramatic past and its interesting way of life, people are still fascinated by this island to this day. Thank you for reading with me today. We do have links that are related to each of our articles, and if you want the link for this video here, you can find it down in the description below.